From the Gulf States Newsroom, this is the Gulf States Gumbo, your weekly serving of stories from Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. I'm sports and cultural reporter Joseph King, chopping it up this week. On today's show, times have been tough if you own a grocery store.
I'll be 64 in September. I think the last 5 years have moved me up to like 84.
Also, Mississippi and Louisiana have some of the smallest tech scenes in the country. But some tech companies are choosing to stay in the South anyway.
If I were to take my office and be a block from the beach in San Francisco, I could never afford it.
That's all coming up on the Gulf States Gumbo. You know, in the South, we have a lot of opinions about food. And maybe the person in our newsroom with the worst food opinions is our economic mobility reporter, Stephan Bisaha. What's up, Stephan?
It is good to be with you, Joseph, and I will hold on to and claim that title. And actually, this time, I do come armed with someone else's food hot take. And this comes straight from Auburn, Alabama's sister city, Opelika.
And I'm a Chesapeake Bay born and bred girl, so I know what fresh fish is. And it is by far the best fresh catfish you can get anywhere.
Okay, Opelika. All right, what you got for us, Stephan?
Well, that is shopper Diane Chavis, and the place she's bragging about is Wright's Market. It is your classic independent grocery store, again in Opelika, not too far from Auburn University.
Yeah, I've been to Opelika a few times. I've been to Auburn a few times. Roll Tide, though. I am a Bama grad. But
I thought we might get a Roll Tide thrown in there. And, you know, this is the kind of place where you could get your sweet tea, veggies, and, yes, that fresh catfish that Chavis was bragging about.
I'm an old country girl, so I like old country products.
And what brought you in today?
Best ground beef in town. My husband, if I'm in a hurry and have to stop somewhere else, he can tell every time, as soon as he bites into it, that I haven't gone to Wright's to get that ground beef.
Oh, one bite and he can tell where the ground beef came from.
Yeah, I don't think I have that delicate palate when it comes to ground beef. And, you know, the real reason I was there was not for the ground beef or the catfish. It was because the last 5 years have been really tough for grocery store owners. Like, think about what these last 5 years have included. I mean, you started with COVID, and then you had inflation.
Yeah, speaking of inflation, I remember eggs being in the news and how people were upset about prices.
Yeah, I think people still might be a little bit upset about them. And, you know, that's part of the reason why I spoke with the owner of Wright's Market, Jimmy Wright.
I'll be 64 in September. I think the last 5 years have moved me up to like 84 on there, as far as it's been a challenging few years.
Now, you said those tough times were part of the reason you spoke with him. What's the other reason?
Well, the main reason I spoke with Jimmy Wright is because grocery stores are facing a new challenge. And that's the new big law that Republican lawmakers passed and Donald Trump signed. The bill renewed tax cuts from his first term, and it also cut Medicaid to pay for it. And it cut the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which goes by SNAP and is really better known as food stamps. New work requirements will likely mean about 3 million people getting kicked off the program, according to an early analysis by the Congressional Budget Office. The law also caps future payment increases based on inflation. And the problem for independent grocers like Wright is that SNAP is often a big part of their sales.
We're somewhere around the third of our business comes through SNAP.
And it's way more than that for some other grocers.
So if you get in some of the rural areas or in the inner city, then the SNAP percentage of sales for that retailer may increase dramatically.
I mean, we're talking like 70%, I think, in some cases?
I mean, you hear people 50, 60, 70% of their sales based on where they're located at.
That's a big chunk.
And he worries that some of these small grocers, that losing that SNAP revenue might mean that they shut down.
I get concerned that will that have a negative effect on these small stores in rural America and in urban America where they cannot stay open.
Is Wright worried about his own store closing?
He says he's not, but, you know, he also doesn't have much room to cut either. After all, grocery stores, they usually have pretty tight margins.
I mean, we're a penny business.
He means that literally. I mean, he says for every dollar spent at a store like his, grocers net only like a penny and a half.
That sounds very stressful.
Yeah, I would bet. Imagine owning that business where you had like that tight a profit margin. And, you know, bear with me because there's also another important bit of math here. Every dollar the federal government spends on SNAP generates about $1.50 in economic activity, according to research from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And that includes things like jobs. Now that some of these dollars are going away, Wright hopes he doesn't have to let any of his employees go.
The last two things I want to do is try to raise prices on people that are struggling, and I certainly don't want to do anything to my employees.
Okay, so if he doesn't want to cut employees and he doesn't want to raise prices, what can he do to make up for lost SNAP spending?
Well, Wright thinks he can make up for some of those losses by just being more efficient and relying on new tech, like using AI to determine what should go on sale when.
We'll see how it shakes out in the world of cantaloupes and Coca-Cola.
AI is affecting everything, it seems. But what have Republican lawmakers who approved these cuts said about SNAP?
Well, their main motivation here was to preserve tax cuts and pay for them with these types of cuts. And the National Grocers Association says that while they were trying to fight against these cuts, they are in fact happy that these tax breaks are continuing. Republicans also say these changes to SNAP will strengthen the program by cutting down on waste, abuse, and dependency. Again, here's shopper Diane Chavis, and she does worry about SNAP being abused, but says it's also needed to help some mothers and children.
I want to make sure those who do not need that program are not taking advantage of that and taken away from those who are in need.
Is there anything people can do to preserve independent grocery stores that can be in danger?
Well, one of the biggest things is just to shop there. That's what Diane Chavis says she does, and something she does every Wednesday to pick up that catfish.
Support your local people. Hometown is the way to go.
You're listening to the Gulf States Gumbo. I'm Joseph King, and I'm here with economic mobility reporter Stephan Bisaha. And Stephan, you've been on the road this year, checking in with different parts of our economy here in the South. Besides shopping for catfish in Alabama, where else have you gone?
Yeah, earlier this year, I took a trip down to Gulfport, Mississippi, and got another fishing-adjacent story. Like, here's something I learned that I did not expect. Like, Joseph, did you know you can actually go fishing with drones?
You know, in 2025, nothing surprised me, man.
You were wide open, minds wide open, possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
These swell pros are used by fishermen to drop bait out into the water.
That is Jansen Cahoon. He's the president of V2 Forensics, based in Gulfport, Mississippi. He has dozens of drones scattered across his office, including that Swell Pro. Basically, his company figures out how to get data out of these drones to help law enforcement investigate crimes like smuggling.
Drones down here in Mississippi? That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, we know that's a thing. Cahoon is born and raised in Mississippi, so he wanted to start his company here. And that actually comes with some advantages, like getting access to a special drone to tinker with, thanks to help from the University of Southern Mississippi.
Right below it,
It looks like a torpedo or like a spaceship.
Yeah, this is the Power Dolphin. That's actually what it's called.
It's got the Dolphin name because it is a drone that does not fly but shoots across the water.
The Power Dolphin. Okay.
Add it to your Christmas list.
I don't know. The Power Dolphin is a crazy name. It's the way he said it, too. But I'm assuming you didn't go to Mississippi to play with drones, right?
No.
So what were you really there for?
Really, I was there to check out Mississippi's tech scene. Because the tech industry is one of the country's fastest growing, and it is booming in so many different places. But a large part of the Deep South has been left out of that boom.
Are there any exceptions?
Yeah, I mean, you could point to places like Huntsville, Alabama. They got a really strong tech sector, mostly in things like defense and space. But states like Mississippi and Louisiana have not seen nearly as many high-paying jobs that the tech industry has brought elsewhere.
Here in Huntsville, I'm not surprised. But is that why you were meeting with Jansen Cahoon, the drone guy?
Yeah, I wanted to meet this tech entrepreneur that is in one of the smallest tech scenes in the country. And actually, there is a big advantage to being a tech company in Mississippi, and that is that you get a lot of attention and support from politicians and banks and universities. Like getting that drone from the University of Southern Mississippi. That saved him a lot of money. And if you're in San Francisco, you're just one of thousands of tech companies. You're not going to get that same kind of attention.
Maritime drones are probably 2 to 3 times, if not 5 times more expensive than the consumer aerial ones. So getting access to the maritime drones was huge for V2 Forensics.
Yeah, he basically gets to be a big fish in a small pond.
I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a big fish. Let's just say I'm an average sized fish in a small pond, and that kind of helps.
So why are Mississippi and Louisiana such small tech ponds?
Well, a big thing to blame here is the region's talent problem. And I want to be clear, this is not a lack of talented graduates coming out of Mississippi. That's according to Gerard Gibbert. He's the head of Innovate Mississippi. He says the problem is that these grads often leave for bigger tech ponds in other states.
And so our universities turn out these really talented young folks, and unfortunately they're across the border before the ink's dry on their diplomas, the way I describe it, looking for work.
That feels like, was it like a catch-22 situation where like you need these graduates with tech degrees to build the jobs, and then we need the jobs to hold on to them?
You got it. It's exactly the way the situation works. And it means you got to have companies that are willing to take a risk.
You know, you saying that is funny thinking because people tend to not realize that Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, graduated from Auburn and is from Mobile, Alabama.
Oh, I actually did not know that, but he didn't stick in Alabama.
Right. How does Gilbert think Mississippi can turn this one?
Well, he thinks one thing that will help is the continued growth of remote work. You know, Mississippi grads can potentially stay in Mississippi while working for an out-of-state company, while out-of-state workers can support companies in Mississippi.
If you do the work, I don't care if you darken our doors.
That is Bill Rayburn. He's the CEO of M-Trade. It's this huge financial tech company where banks sell mortgages to each other, and it is based in Mississippi, Oxford specifically. Rayburn says, yeah, he has a lot of remote workers, but he does think Mississippi's challenge is about more than just workforce.
Mississippi has got to pick its niche. You got to have a niche.
What he means by that is the tech company has a lot of different parts to it, like security, social media, phones, drones. Mississippi should pick just one of those to try and grow. And, you know, like one city and one place to be that, kind of like how Huntsville is for Alabama. And Rayburn does admit it is selfish, but he thinks financial tech in Oxford, where he's based, could be that niche.
I don't think we have a focus at all. We want to be everything to everybody all over the state, all the above, okay? If you focus on everything, you focus on nothing.
And what are the other shortcomings for Mississippi's tech scene?
Mississippi does also trail these other states when it comes to internet access, which, you know, is kind of a big deal when it comes to both tech and remote work. Still, Jansen Cahoon, remember our drone guy we started off with, he says the state has its advantages too, and a big one is simply the cost of living.
If I were to take my office and be a block from the beach in San Francisco, I could never afford it. But here I am in mighty Mississippi, able to own the property we're in, do what I need to do. Is significantly less expensive than doing it in San Francisco or San Diego and stuff like that.
And he gets to do that close to family and the culture he loves, and all just like a short walk from the beach.
Now, on that topic of things we love here, I think it's time to wrap it up with the Gulf States Gym. It's our chance to brag about what we love in the region. So, Stephen, do you have anything from these recent reporting trips to brag about?
You know, every time I'm in New Orleans, I always have to stop by Bearcat. It's this incredible breakfast spot that they have a few different locations across the city.
Okay, if y'all recall earlier, I'm very hesitant of Stephen's food opinions.
I do have the worst food opinions in the newsroom, but do not take that as a knock against Bearcat. They have actually the best breakfast potatoes I've ever had. Not something you normally brag about, but seriously, do not sleep on Bearcat.
All right, I'm going to have to check it out next time I'm down there. And Stephen is our economic mobility reporter. Stephen, thanks for talking with me today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Joseph.
This week's show is cooked up by the Gulf States Newsroom team. Our theme music is by DJ Supreme. Special thanks to our partner stations, WBHM, Mississippi Public Broadcasting, WWNO, and WRKF. You can find us in your podcast feeds every Friday. Look us up and be sure to subscribe. Again, I'm your host, Joseph King. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to steal your rule.